This property in Cologne costs almost 700,000 euro, while this property, which is as similar as it gets, costs not even half. There's only one difference between these two properties. The expensive one is a normal sale, while the cheap one comes with Erbbaurecht. Finding an affordable home here in Germany feels like a miracle. So when you find a property way below market value, it can feel like a cheat code. But is it? Let's look behind the ImmoScout headlines and break down the German Erbbaurecht system so you know exactly how to secure a great real estate deal without putting your hard-earned money at risk. Erbbaurecht or Erbpacht go back until the Roman Empire. And since property prices get more and more expensive, it has become increasingly popular again over the last years. Normally, the land and the building are an undividable unity by German law, but Erbbaurecht breaks this bond. The ground remains the property of the landowner, while you become the legal owner of the building on top. The most common landowners are churches, municipalities, and foundations, who allow you to lease the ground for a fixed duration, typically between 60 and 99 years. And in return for using the land, you pay an annual fee called the Erbbauzins. This rent ranges usually between 3% and 5% of the land value every single year. In the Cologne property from the beginning, it is 524 euros a year. At some point, the lease contract will reach its deadline. 35 years for the Cologne property. When the lease expires, the building automatically goes back to the landowner. But lucky you do not leave empty-handed. By German law, the landlord must pay you a compensation of at least 66% of the current market value of the building. However, the landowner also can offer you a contract extension instead. If you reject that extension, you lose your right to any payout completely and the landowner will get your property for free. Sounds bad? I know. So let's talk about why you would actually choose Erbbaurecht over a normal property. First, you need less money. A lot less. Because you don't buy the land, you avoid huge upfront costs, often 30% to 40% of the total price, or even 80% in the best locations in Munich or Berlin. Second, this lower price means a smaller mortgage, which leads to lower monthly rates and easier approval. So this could be a neat way to open doors to great properties in nice locations that are otherwise way out of your budget. But, and we'll talk about the downsides of Erbbaurecht in just a moment, it's not like banks find it better than normal properties. And third, if you are buying as an investment, you can deduct the Erbbauzins from your taxes just like any other expense. That's why our recommendation is to invest in properties rather than moving in yourself, because you get tax benefits that homeowners can only dream of. If you want to know what's right for you, you can book a free meeting with us right here. You guessed it, there are downsides to Erbbaurecht as well. First, you never own the land. You only buy a limited right to use it. This means you do not profit from the long-term price increases of the ground, which is in boom areas like Munich or Frankfurt, the biggest profit maker. Second, the ground rent is a permanent expense that goes on even after your mortgage is paid off. Plus, the Erbbauzins is almost always linked to inflation, so your monthly payments will rise over the decades. And if the contract reaches its deadline and you want to renew it, the fee is recalculated based on the current, probably much higher land values. So your Erbbauzins could easily double from one year to another. Third, German banks look at Erbbaurecht with a lot of caution. Since they cannot take the land as a security, they lower their valuation and often expect you to bring at least 20% of cash as equity. Banks also have a strict rule that your mortgage must be paid off at least 10 to 15 years before the lease ends. So if you want to buy the Cologne property from the beginning, you would need to finish your mortgage in 20 years, which will result in a very high monthly payment. That's why the property will lose value with every single year the lease time takes down, making it harder to find a buyer later on. Fourth, your freedom is limited, just as if you were renting, because you need the consent of the landowner for almost everything: selling the property, modernizing the property, or entering a new loan into the land registry. And fifth, you still carry all the duties of a traditional owner, meaning you pay 100% of the property tax, 100% of the ground taxes, even though you don't own the land, all the fees and all ongoing maintenance for the land. So, who is Erbbaurecht actually for? If you want absolute control over your property and profit from rising value of the land, this is not your market. But if you want to buy a property with a lot less upfront capital, this can be a massive opportunity. The math just has to make sense for your specific situation. If you need help figuring this out, watch this video next or book a free meeting with us right here. Thank you for watching und bis zum nächsten Mal.